October 13th to the 16th of the Yates, Jesus Christ Superstar. It is a fundraiser for the Lethbridge Senior Center organization. It is directed by Ken Rogers and Fran Rude. Jesus is here.
Hi.
Jesus is in the house. George Gallant has played Jesus. I will be playing the part of Judas. We have a whole other cast. They're not here because they're late for rehearsal. But I'll tell you what, first off, Fran, let's get right to you.
Okay.
Third time through for Jesus Christ Superstar. First and
Third
foremost, okay, the LSCO comes to you, I assume, to say we want to do another fundraiser, and you say, yes, I'm on board, and then you say, let's do Jesus Christ Superstar. Why?
Well, because, for one reason, I didn't want to do another concert because we had just done one. And so they came, the successful one in October. And so when they came to me, and we had talked about sometime doing a reunion production, and I just tossed it out, and they just fell all over it. They thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And so here we are.
So, reunion show. Now, that begs the question, George, you know, we're talking 30 years ago when you were first Jesus. Mm-hmm. And Fran, does that concern you that, you know, we are 30 years older with the cast, or what? I mean, was there a consideration for that, or is that something that you thought that's no big deal? It's not a thing.
Well, I think the wig budget was increased.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the one thing.
And hey, Mark, I'm 30 years older too.
No, but I mean, the perception of an audience goer to see, you know, fat Judas and Jesus.
No, it didn't. Well, I told you to go on a diet.
Yeah,
but anyway.
I did. But.
No, it actually doesn't concern me a bit because you were pretty young puppies when we did that first show. And you can bring just so much more to those roles right now. And also, when this idea started floating around in my head, it was actually Ken that planted it in there. And I thought, I don't know. So I started looking back at Ted Neely, and then I find out he played that role to sold-out houses around the world until he was 66 years old. And I looked at one of his recent videos, and he may have been 66, but the minute he started singing Gethsemane, he just pulled me right in. And that happens to me at rehearsals, and I know it's going to happen to the audience. They're not even going to think about that.
But to play Jesus Christ Superstar, why? I mean, because with all of the different choices, what made you decide, you know, I do want to do this for the third time? Well,
for me, it's probably one of the favorites that I've done, because when I did it the first time, that is the basis for this one. For instance, there was no YouTube or anything like that, and all I got from the license holders was a book of music. I had to go read the Bible, the book of John, quite often to find out who was even in the scenes. So that show, probably more than any that I've done, came right out of my head.
Right.
And it's remained with me ever since. And I don't know, I wasn't keen on doing it at first because I'd seen the movie and I was sort of beyond that rock and roll stuff. And then the then music director, who was John Reed, said, just sit down and listen to it. And I did, and I thought, wow, this really said something. And the other thing I like about it, there are two things. One is that it asks a lot of questions, but it leaves a lot up to the audience to make up their own minds. And it's not a play about religion, it's a play about politics and how it affected what was going on at the time. So it just was interesting. And it still is.
I do want to get into that whole controversy that Jesus Christ Superstar is. But Ken, you know, your opinion of the music first and foremost, because you're not really, going back, you really weren't a theater guy at all.
No.
Like, I mean,
no,
you were
very classically trained.
I know you were telling us a story in front of the front of our one of the rehearsals, saying that, you know, what's this? I think you started with Evita first, and you're just saying, I don't get this.
I could believe how bad the singing was from that classically trained perspective. But
right.
at the time, I didn't understand that it's not a choir.
Right.
It's characters, it's actors, and they should never sound like a choir unless that's part of the show.
Right. Yeah. What was the epiphany that you had when you said, you know, this theater stuff, I kind of like it now? When did that sort of change?
Well, it was a back and forth thing. I had a good friend, Don Robb, asked me to play in a show. I think it was one of
chorus
Fran's
line.
first shows called the Chorus
chorus
Line.
line,
And the instrument I played had a great book for it. I just had a great time. I loved every minute of it. It was an energetic cast. It was a new company. Like, just everything was fun. Everything was great. I had a great time. So then I thought I'd get some more. I tried going on stage. That wasn't as much fun.
Because you
And-
hated that part you'd had, right? Did you?
It was just an unfortunate set of circumstances, and I was, wrong place, wrong time
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah, and then, so I actually swore off for a while.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm never doing this again.
Right.
So I went from, a real high to I don't want to do this. And then it was Fran's friend at the time, John Reed, who was a music teacher in town. And Fran had phoned me and asked if I would do Evita, and I
And
was,
he
I was
said no.
I was quite
I
short.
don't do that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Evita's,
yeah.
3 times I
Yeah,
had
she
to
phoned
ask
3
him.
times.
Really?
And I knew John. I was working on some classical stuff with him. We were working together on stuff out at the university. And so he took me aside one time and he said, "Hey, Ken, I'm a music director for this. Like, you'll be helping us out." And he said, "Trust me, it'll be okay."
Really?
And it was. Evita
Yeah.
was fantastic. And then I think Jesus Christ Superstar was next.
Yeah,
It was.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, you guys know, there's a theater bug, right?
Yeah.
And for me as a musician, it's something about the sum of the parts. It's, the music isn't Beethoven, and the script isn't, Chekhov or Shakespeare, and the sets aren't Picasso or whatever. But you put it all together, and it's the...
Makes magic.
Yeah, it's the way people have to rely on each other and work together, and all the forces have to be there or it falls apart.
Speaking of the magic, of course, you two together. What is
Yeah,
it? How many
wow.
shows? 25, 35? I don't know. How
It's
many
either,
shows?
No
it's
idea.
somewhere between 28 and 30, which
Yeah.
means it's
Yeah.
either 28, 29, or 30.
I mean, longer than
It's-
most marriages. So
Yeah,
I'll
and
tell you
yeah.
what's the deal?
Yeah,
What's
and
the
we're-
deal with you two?
Yeah.
And we're still very close friends.
Yeah.
We have our little dust-ups once in a while,
sure.
but we've worked so much together and respect each other so much and have learned so much that we always manage to get everything resolved, never any hard feelings or anything. It's just a great relationship. I don't know what makes it work, but it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't know, but is there some? I mean, like you guys keep on saying, you finish each other's sentences.
We do.
You know what the other person is thinking about. Did that come naturally, or was that a time where?
No,
you know,
over time.
Over time, and then you started to realize, okay,
Yeah, it grew.
she's not so
Yeah.
much of a bitch, but
Yeah. Oh, no.
Can you say
You
that?
know what?
Oh, editing again.
You know what? You've just been canceled.
Apostle 12.
No, the soldier, the third soldier with the spear, the back row.
Back row.
Yes.
Back row.
But I
Offstage
mean,
soldier.
it must go with you too, saying, Fran, what are you? I mean, or you were saying to Ken about Ken, what's
Yeah.
he thinking about? And,
Oh, I've
you
learned
know,
so much.
yeah.
It's...
And I imagine you as well, Fran, learned a lot from.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing that Ken has learned, but it took a while because of his solely music background,
Yeah.
was that the way I work, everything, I direct a musical the same way I direct a play, and everything is character driven.
Right.
And it took him a while to learn that, but he has now really well, so that when we're in rehearsals, he truly does know what I'm thinking
Right.
when it's a vocal rehearsal. And I've learned from him so much about the dynamics of the orchestra. I'm not a musician. I think I have musicality, but I'm not
Yeah.
a musician. And so I've really learned a lot about the dynamics of the orchestra and how it has to work.
And
You know?
you've said over and over again that you would rather get someone in a role who is an actor first, as singer later.
Exactly.
And now, as a musician and a vocal director, Ken, did that take a while for you to say, okay, I see that?
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
there's someone who will he's acting the part, but he's
Yeah.
not hitting the freaking note.
Yeah.
So what's more important? And you have to come to
Well,
an
that
agreement.
completely depends on the role.
Yeah.
Because some roles are
It is important that
written.
he hits a note.
Well, yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, but he can get away with it if
Yeah.
he acts the
Yeah.
part, right?
Yeah.
Is that fair to
Yeah.
say?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
with depending on the role.
Yeah.
Like some roles do require to hit the notes, and then
sure.
other roles don't as much.
right, yeah.
Yeah, Judas.
You're supposed to hit the notes. Yeah, all of them.
Well said.
Hi, that's it. So George, okay, again, 30 years ago, seems like 30. After all, it seems like 30.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
it was.
so Fran comes to you and says, we're going to do Jesus again after 30 years, and you say...
Have you seen my hairline? I think that's what I said.
Yeah, we were in the coffee shop downtown.
Yeah,
That's
which
right.
was Round Street, which it
Yeah,
isn't anymore.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, what goes through your mind when you're playing the part? You know, it's such an iconic part, and, you know...
Third time's lucky?
Yeah,
Third time's a charm?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I've always loved this part. It's funny, I found old cassette tapes of our 1987 version of it, and I listened to it before it was like a week before we had this meeting. I went, oh, I love that music. Just songs like Poor Jerusalem, and Gethsemane has always been, you know, that's my pinnacle, right? That's the most physical song I've ever done. The next one would be, it was funny, from
City of Angels.
City of Angels.
That was the other one. That at the end of it, I'm exhausted.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the one where you get to leave. You truly leave it all out on the stage.
Right.
And in that part, and when they wrote it, they were smart enough to not give Jesus really much to do after that except die, right? So it's written well, and so they give that song at a place where then I should be exhausted, and then I should be
ready to die.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know that's the song that's my pinnacle. That's the toughest song.
Is that this if you're to be remembered as George Gallant, the guy that sang Gethsemane? Is that the one?
And I'm happy with that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of the role that a lot of people know me for.
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's not a bad role to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, there are iconic roles. And when Ken first mentioned this to me, I said no. And he said, think about it. And I did, still not, you know, thinking that we would do it. And that's when I got on this business of researching and thought, it works.
Yeah.
But the reason I said no was because, as far as I'm concerned, for you two, those are your probably iconic roles that I could not do this show with anybody else. I just couldn't. And so there you go.
Damn, pressure's on.
Yeah. And I'm glad you didn't. Yeah. But it was a little scary at first because I thought, you know, it's been 30 years. We did it in 2000 the last time. And I've been crooning ever since, right?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
So my voice was not in shape.
Right.
And so that's been the challenge, as you probably know as well. It's just getting your voice back in shape, no different than an athlete.
Actually, I think my first run through of doing the opening song, I went through it and I thought, what have I just done? This is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, it's like you're an athlete and you got to start working out again. You
Oh, last night it was terrific.
Well,
I thought it was wonderful.
Well, then there's tonight. But anyway.
You don't sing tonight.
I want to go back to your thought about the play Jesus Christ Superstar as being, it's not so much about religion, it's a political show.
Right.
Elucidate to me on that one, because there are people in the religious factions who first saw the show and said, this is blasphemy. You cannot portray Jesus as a human being like this, and you're making him a human. This is absolutely wrong, and that's what the show is about. You disagree with that?
I'm trying to figure out what elucidate means.
How far
I
wrote
think
it in
I think I have.
magazine
Yes.
once. Anyway.
No, what I really like about it is that, I mean, everybody knows the story. Everybody knows that Jesus dies in the end. Yeah. Everybody knows that Judas is the one responsible. But there's never, ever been an examination of why. And that's what I'm sort of looking at more this time than even the two previous productions that we've done. And I think what Lloyd Webber and Rice do with this musical is they say, but what if?
Right.
And we've talked about Judas first being a whistleblower because he's so concerned about what is going to happen to people because of agitating the Romans who were occupying that area at that particular time. Judas does not immediately set out to betray him. It's something that builds up because of his concern and fright that the Romans are going to bring the world down on him.
Right.
And his political awareness.
Exactly.
He was political awareness.
From my research anyway, he was the most politically astute. Right. And then another thing that they examine is, and it's the what if. What if this was all preordained?
Which
and
is
that's basically at the basis of this whole thing.
Right.
And
that's kind of almost the pinnacle of this show, is
it
that
is.
Judas figures out, OMG.
Exactly.
This was preordained, and I was the guy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's just agonizing for him
Yeah.
because now he knows that there is no way back.
Right.
You know, it has been predetermined that this is what is going to happen. And you and I have talked about this before. Was he a whistleblower or a traitor? And I think that he was probably a combination of both. But his initial intention was not to bring about the death of Jesus.
Right.
And then the other thing that the show looks at, which really interests me, is Jesus is declared a few times throughout the show that he is a man. He's just a man. But the way the show is constructed, you really have to decide that for yourself. You know.
So I mean, and you're talking to the person who might be very religious and you know, not liking the message. So you know, I mean, and that's yeah.
But in fact, Jesus never says, he only in Gethsemane, he says, could you ask as much of any other man? That's the only time, because he's a man, just a man is Mary's version.
That's right, exactly.
The only time Jesus says that.
Judas says, and he's just a man, he's not
right,
a king.
Yes.
Right. So whether or not, if Jesus is saying any other man or any other man, like it depends on how it's construed. But all through it, Christ also says, I know all these things that you will never know, which implies that he's not of this world. So it depends on how you look at it. I know lots of you know, devout Christians that didn't like it, and others that were really moved by it, because the story's still the same. Right. So.
And I think, you know, over the course of 30 years, I think people's perceptions and they've more research get on, and you get on the internet and you read all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
So you can really have a different opinion, I think.
And it hasn't become probably the most widely performed musical of all time for nothing. I mean, it is still playing all these years later all over the world, and it is still playing to huge houses. There is a difference, though, in the way we're doing it. Lloyd Webber, it was originally written to be what they call a rock arena production. So that's outside in some great big huge space with 5,000, 10,000 people there.
Which was why they had the lead singer of Deep Purple being Jesus.
Exactly, exactly. But so by that measure, the Yates is a really small theater. But to me, what it does is that it requires the audience to focus more on the story. I find when I look at a lot of the arena productions on YouTube, for instance, they don't really reach me. And it's
I can attest to that because I mean I've seen the production.
Because it's all about the
spectacle.
The spectacle. It's not
and
about.
I want to be in a Yates because I saw the show in the Jubilee with Ted Neely and Carl Anderson, and also I saw the Sportsplex production here with Ted Neely. It fell flat for me. You know, I mean, great voices, great performances, but I need to be down. I think that's where the Yates is going to be just
really
perfect.
have the chance to get involved. Now, some of the audiences, particularly the younger people, they go to hear whether or not Jesus is going to hit that high G or whatever, you know, which I find
and is he?
Yeah, we're not telling.
He did the other night.
Yes, he did.
It'll depend.
But I find that's rather sad, you know, because there's so much more to this than that. And the Yates helps us bring that out.
You know what fascinates me about the controversy is, you know, as we're going through rehearsals, everything that everybody says, like everybody who comes to see the show probably knows the story and what's going to happen and what but in the show, nobody knows that yet.
No.
Nobody has a clue.
He hints a lot,
so of
but
course,
nobody knows,
to every person, he is a man.
Yes.
At that moment.
At
and
that
the show makes no statement, no comment about after. And that's
it's only the one when he says to conquer death,
you only have to die.
So it's just written so well, where there's just these hints that just lead into things.
But there's still, that doesn't comment on whether he's a man or divine. So, you know, I see it from that perspective as I'm rehearsing. And an audience member would be, well, if you're involved in the show, you're not thinking forward to all that yet. You're just actually seeing it unfold, basically as it unfolded as far as we know from history.
There's been great moments on the stage in this show. What are some of the times where you, Fran, I know that you get emotional with a lot of the songs. So what are some of those moments for you? What have you?
Oh well, let's
in the past. You know, and I think Ken, this is one for you. Is the very end of the show where it goes into the John 3:16. unbelievable. I mean, that, and people
Yeah.
are crying at the end of that. It's just,
Yeah.
all of this has happened, and
Yeah.
I'm not giving it away,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but that.
I was just telling the
yeah.
orchestra just 2 nights ago, we had a rehearsal, and I was saying this is not incidental music after the show. This is part of the show.
Of the show.
Yeah.
This is the.
And
I
that
th-
does
the
make
letting
me
go.
cry. It's,
And I think
it's
that
beautiful.
even with the cast, I mean, I
Yes.
find
Oh.
myself.
I choke on that one.
Yeah, it
that's
really-
that one. That's
Yeah.
and that it's just that melody. It's just I don't know why.
You get
Yeah.
little bits of it in your role.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Through the-
Yeah.
yeah.
The other night, I was when we were rehearsing Mary Magdalene, Jory Kahn,
Yeah.
and she sang "I Don't Know How to Love Him." I was crying
Yeah.
watching her, because, and now we're not, we're 3.5 weeks or so away from opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also the small things. We haven't rehearsed, done scene work on Act 2 yet. But one of the things that makes me feel like weeping is when Judas says, I might even do it now for heaven's sakes, when Judas says, I don't know how to love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just grabs me,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's funny, when I did the role, and I hung myself.
Yeah.
Like at the end of that
That's another
scene.
story, yeah.
Yeah, but and that was one of the few times that the audience applauded, not because I got hung,
No.
but it was just the raw emotion
Yes.
of, and I'm not saying that I was the person that brought the, but I mean, that scene is written to feel what he was going through, and that the pure release of death is what this is all about, and he dies, and people realize that. Yeah.
Well, John Reed, before he left Lethbridge, he moved to Victoria to pursue some music and education interests there. We don't video our shows, as you well know, because it's
Against the
it's
law.
against the
illegal.
law. Yes.
We've never done that before.
But I don't have any videotapes really.
Yeah.
But John Reed, we had a video camera in the pit because there's a lot of singing that happens off stage, and we had to have monitors off stage. And so he came to my house a couple of days before he left, and he said, I have a gift for you. And he gave me this videotape. And I said, you have a videotape of the show? He said, you just watch it. And it was him directing the orchestra.
Oh, really?
And I've never seen
Just
Ken
his face.
Face.
Is that right? Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
Oh.
I never get to see the conductor. But what really moved me was I could see the entire audience behind him,
Oh,
and they
and- oh,
were
wow.
so involved.
What a cool thing to have.
Yeah, one woman raced out of the theater, and it happened to be shown, I believe, on that tape. I'm not sure, but I was, sitting in the house seat, and I went out after her during the 39 Lashes, and I thought, well, maybe she's leaving because she's angry, whatever. She was sobbing out there.
Yeah.
She said, I can't watch it. She said, I will go back, but she said, I just can't. She was that involved. She could
Isn't that interesting? Because we all know the story.
Yes. Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
you see it in front of you, and then emotions start hitting. Yeah.
And irrespective of what your religious beliefs are, I think what the show really hits home with is it is the greatest story ever told. It doesn't matter what your religion is. I mean, as you sing in one of your songs, without any kind of mass communication, no mass newspapers, no cell phones, texting, nothing.
Right.
It's still the greatest story ever told.
We can't do this talking about 30 years of Jesus Christ Superstar. We're talking about the night, dress rehearsal.
Oh, do we have to talk
Lyndon
about that?
Bray, playing the part of Jesus, or Judas, I should say, and he's getting lifted up to the rafters, dress rehearsal night, and just one of those nights. The rope snapped. He fell to the stage.
Well, the rope snapped on purpose. I mean, the reason.
On purpose, you said?
No. But I still get chills thinking
Oh,
about
I know.
that.
We all do.
But the costume had been created. He was wearing a harness underneath.
Right.
And first of all, he wasn't supposed to jump off. He was supposed to step off. And of course, this was in the university, so we had the fly
stage,
gallery,
yeah.
and he took one heck of a jump, and his weight, I guess the force of his weight, broke the harness.
The harness, right.
But he already had the noose around his neck. Right. But we had a stage manager, Jody Lowe. She's like Nancy Graham. She knows our stage manager now. She was a fantastic stage manager, and she had deliberately constructed that noose so that if that happened, it would just automatically break away. But I didn't know that, and when I saw that happen, honest to goodness, I almost fainted on the spot. Yeah. And I had to, as a matter of fact, I went into the costume designer's office and had a drink of scotch. I really did. Yeah. I was so worked up about it.
George, what do you remember about that night?
I remember it was the John Reed bit on the camera. Yeah. So he was watching him go up, and he's directing, and then you see him go, and then he cuts off the camera.
I mean, we're laughing at it now.
It's funny now.
It was scary.
Boy, it was
very
scary
because he was writhing in pain on the stage. Yeah. Thank God it snapped.
But he landed on the cross on a knot of wood, so it broke away really. Like it actually cushioned the fall on his foot. Yeah. So it was. I mean, if he would have been on the actual stage, would have broken a foot, would have broken a leg. Yeah. But because he landed how he landed, it just broke a couple of bones in his foot.
Yeah. But we had to postpone the show. For a week, and get it the first time in the history of Jesus Christ Superstar, Judas walked with a cast on his leg.
Yeah, wasn't there some historical evidence that Judas did have?
Oh, really?
Really? I think someone put that on YouTube.
In '87, they didn't.
Well, no, we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have YouTube, but it certainly added to the character. I must say.
Yeah, because he dragged that foot around and gave him a whole different dimension.
Here comes Judas. He's not sneaking up on anybody.
Walk this way, Igor. It's Igor.
I was thinking that very same thing. Is that the Life of Brian or
Frankenstein?
Frankenstein, that's it.
Yeah. But we digress.
We do digress.
Yes.
What did you have any thought of doing the show with someone other than Lyndon? Because did you think that because I think there was the discussion that maybe
I think Ed was the
we had to
Ed Johnson.
Ed Johnson,
because the show must go on, that old story, but it just couldn't happen.
No, I mean it was the night before opening, and that man had put close to 3 months of rehearsal and work into that role. And I think for us not to consider making it possible would have done him a real disservice. So no, really. Now, if it had been more serious, if he had broken a leg or 2 legs or whatever, or if he, well, I won't say it, but anyway, we certainly would have had to consider somebody else, but no, it never. And we never had any negative feedback from the public. Right. I thought it was all handled quite well, actually.
Yeah, then the show did go on.
Yeah,
a little late, but we got a great show.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about a few of the other cast members in the show. People that I know, Marty Madge is back.
Yes.
I've never heard anybody with a deeper voice.
That low
Caiaphas. Good Caiaphas.
He's another one that
from the original.
From the original. But when you talk about iconic roles, I think anybody who remembers anything about Marty Madge in theater sees him as Caiaphas.
Yeah. Oh, it's unbelievable.
I'm just thrilled to bits that we have 5 of the original 8. And the other one that's an iconic role is Bill Lawson. I couldn't even picture anybody else but him doing that, and he has not disappointed, as you well know.
Yeah.
I mean,
he only comes to 1 rehearsal a month.
But
he's only got 1 song.
Well, he has got 1 song, but I mean, when he comes, does he ever deliver?
And then you've got
Dave
McCullough as Pilate, and now he's the right age. When he played Pilate, he was all of about 21 years old. He did a really good job.
I just hated it when he wore his rider's jersey on the stage when he was Pilate. I thought one of the nights he shouldn't have.
Right.
That's me.
But now, when he did Pilate's Dream, it seems like a month ago. It was only last week. There's sort of silence in the whole room. Everybody it's chilling, and because he's older now and brings so much more to the role. He's thought about it.
For decades.
I think George, I mean, you can agree with me too. That just you've done this so many over the years, but you think about, I want to do this a little different. I got to be better.
Yeah.
I still want to be better at it, right?
And the voice is a little different.
Yeah.
But we bring more experience to the role.
Exactly.
The first time we did it, I was too young. The second time we did it,
you were drunk too, but that's
yeah. But it helped me hit some of those notes. But the second time we did it, I was a little old, but not much. Now I'm quite a bit older, but I've done it twice, and when I said yes, it was because I want to be able to do this differently. I want to be able to do it the way that I want to do it as well. The music, you know, I still look at Ken as the best free music lessons I've ever had. Of with all the shows that I've ever done with you, that's where most of my vocal training comes from, is with you. And I remember doing it the first time, and you showing me how to scream. You know, screaming. You know, I don't have to do pretty voice all the time, right? There's that scream thing that my voice that I have to really work at. So that's been a lot of work. So that's been really good for me. But it's just, you know, I look at Jesus a little more, you know, a little more in depth now than I used to. So, and you know, you can play him a whole bunch of different ways.
And he becomes more than just Gethsemane. Gethsemane is the big song, but leading up to that, and I mean that just becomes that's it. And we should talk about Jordana Khan being
Mary Magdalene, and I did not want, you know, with George being his age, I did not want a young, you know, 18-year-old ingenue playing that role. And she was the very first part I thought of.
Would have been kind of creepy.
She was the very first person I thought of. And I didn't think that she would do it because Jordana is Jewish. And of course, this is about a new religion, you know, being formed. Or that's part of the story. And when I contacted her, you know what Jordy's like, and I get
well, she probably said, I want to do it alone.
No, what she said was, a dream, Fran, a dream. It's a role she's always wanted to play, and so she's just
now we argue Old Testament, New Testament.
That's
just
right.
for fun.
That's right, yeah.
I think one thing that's special is, you know, we're all long in the tooth
Yeah.
to be doing
I beg
this.
your pardon.
Well, I was 12 first time. No, anyways. I think it's sort of special because I think we sort of know this probably will not happen again now.
I doubt it very much.
Like that and it's a really special crew, and there is such a positive force in the cast. It's unbelievable. They're working so hard. We're having so much fun. Like
They're like they're rehearsing on their own and stuff?
Yes.
What's that all about?
They arrange rehearsals at people's houses or wherever because there is a ton of choreography. And last night when I was rehearsing, I thought, oh boy, we're going to have the big opening number for the first time without Joy Ackerman around the choreography. Another show. And it just went, everybody knew it. And that's because last week they spent hours. One night they were rehearsing on the lawn of the church across the street, which I found rather ironic. And,
George, you got to bring wine.
Yeah.
You really got it.
But they are amazing. But I have to say that for me, you know, my intent is not to reinvent the wheel because a lot of what we did the first time worked. But at the same time, I'm having fun tweaking it a little bit. And one of the biggest tweaks is going to be a change of focus on the relationship between Judas and Jesus, to which not that much attention was paid to the first time around. Because I think that, you know, that has to be built to the point where by the time he does what he does, you understand why he's going to do it.
It's not so black and white.
It's not so black and white.
Huge grace
not
between
at all.
those relationships.
Absolutely. The big what if, you know. So it's fun for me that way.
So what are you looking forward to the most for this show?
When it's over? No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. I'm just looking forward to seeing it again and to see you people on stage who have just grown so much. You know, to see the way you're playing Jesus and Judas now is so different from the first time. And Pilate. And having, you know, Jordana as Mary. And Bill Lawson knocked me flat because when he did it the first time, he was not much more than a kid, and he was really, really good. But this time, boy, he just knocks you right between the eyeballs, you know, as King Herod. And I've also changed the focus of the choreography. Just to give you a brief example, in the Herod scene, I've changed that whole focus in that scene, and I think the audience is going to love it. And your scene at the end, they're just going to go, what?
Hint, stripper poles. But
right. Well, it is Vegas.
Ken, what do you? I mean, you've got an awesome band that you handpicked. So
we've got an orchestra together. We had a few rehearsals. It's we're having fun. on our own. Just the other night, someone in the rehearsal said, "Who's in the cast again? Like who's you know?" And they really want to know who's singing this and who's singing that. And I was telling them the energy in the cast. I feel the energy in the orchestra. Everybody's happy being there, having a great time. So I think I'm glad we called it Reunion, because I can be a real sentimental sap sometimes, and
Me too.
you know, just getting together with this crew of people we've done so many great things with, and come back to something we love, and just have that one more chance. It's almost like being able to come home again.
It's like coming full circle.
Yeah.
It really is.
And then being able to do it for the seniors and raise the senior center.
We forget that that's what this is all about.
Like
Because we're going to need that center.
yeah, that's
that's right.
like next Thursday. I need it. Can we get a? Can we
Yes.
book
It's an investment in our future.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
we should point out that the money is all going to the Lethbridge Senior Center organization.
Yeah.
It is.
and funds all of the programs, the wonderful programs.
So
we
that's-
have.
hope it sells out.
Yeah,
That's
sure it
one
will.
of the reasons why Ken and I are so pleased to be able to do this,
Yeah.
you know, for them, because the money is going into the programming in that place is amazing. As a matter of fact, I was in there working on my script this afternoon. I was listening to a man at a table behind me talking to some friends, and he said, you know, I just discovered this place about a week ago. And he said, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about it too is that it is completely non-discriminatory. What I mean by that is that anybody who comes through that door, whether they are healthy as a horse or really old and disabled, is treated exactly the same way with exactly the same kind of respect. The staff are wonderful. They really are.
and they got a great restaurant in there as well.
Yes,
They
the-
do.
Certainly do.
At reasonable prices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very reasonable price.
Yes, yeah. Except right now they're having a tough time because the parking lot
yeah.
it's all torn up. But it's supposed to be ready when the show
And
starts.
Is there any parking in this town?
Try the university.
Right.
They're providing like almost 100 volunteers too,
Yeah.
like behind the scenes.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
People are doing all sorts of work from the senior center, volunteers, and that's you know, it's the community,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I love living in a community this size. It's
I don't think
great.
we've been better taken care of ever.
Yeah,
If there was a song that you could sing on stage, what would it be?
like any
Yeah, any song.
song.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Ken Rogers.
Nothing Without Me, City of Angels.
Oh,
Yeah.
sing a line.
There's no. I'm nothing without you. Without you, I'm nothing at all.
Fran.
Rose's Turn, and don't ask me to sing it from Gypsy.
Oh, Rosen.
Great.
I thought you'd say Bally High from South Pacific.
Oh, I sang that in
Yeah.
this. No, thank you. And nice song, but
Yeah.
Rose's Turn is a song.
Roses. No.
Yes.
Good.
You know,
George.
I get to do it in this show. It's
That's
Gethsemane.
it. That's it.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we did a Giants of Broadway
Yeah.
concert. I got to sing Gethsemane, like
Yeah.
not as part of just like I've always loved the song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you, guys. Show October 13th to the 16th, Yates Theater. You get your tickets at the Ticket Center. All proceeds going to Lethbridge Senior Center organization. See you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.